The wind howled across the white plains of Antarctica. Captain James Walker pulled his thermal mask tighter against his face. The cold was brutal, even with his advanced polar gear. He checked the scanner in his hand one more time. The readings made no sense. "Dr. Morgan, are you seeing this?" he called through his radio. Anna Morgan's voice crackled back. "Yes, Captain. Something large is buried about 50 meters below us. It's not ice or rock." The geological survey was supposed to be routine. The team had come to study ice patterns and climate data. No one expected to find anything unusual, especially not something that made their equipment go crazy. "Should we call it in?" asked Tom, the young technician who was helping set up their drilling equipment. Captain Walker shook his head. "Let's find out what we're dealing with first. Anna, can we get a sample?" The small team worked quickly, their drill, designed to take ice core samples, whirred to life. As it dug deeper, the readings got stronger. The wind picked up, blowing snow around them in a blinding white cloud. At 45 meters down, the drill hit something solid. Not ice, not rock, something else. "Cut the drill," Dr. Morgan shouted. Her eyes were wide behind her protective goggles. "We've got contact." The team gathered around as they pulled up the drill. At its tip was a small piece of metal unlike anything they had seen before. It was dark gray with faint blue lines running through it. It was room temperature despite being buried in ice for who knows how long. "This isn't possible," Anna whispered, holding the fragment in her gloved hand. "This metal should be freezing cold." Captain Walker took a picture and sent it to their base camp. Within minutes, his satellite phone rang. "Don't touch anything else," ordered the voice on the other. "And a team is on its way. This is now a classified operation." 3 days later, Captain Walker stood in a hastily built research dome. The small metal fragment had been just the beginning. A massive excavation revealed a structure buried deep in the ice. It wasn't a ship or a building, it was something else. "It's a data storage device," explained Dr. Morgan as she worked with the international team of scientists that had arrived within hours of their discovery. "From what we can tell, it's at least 5,000 years old, but the technology is far beyond anything we have today." "Alien?" Walker asked the question everyone was thinking. "Without a doubt," answered Dr. Morgan. "And it was left here deliberately for us to find." The room went quiet. The implications were enormous. Humanity was not alone in the universe, and someone had left them a message. General Adams, who had flown in from Washington, cleared his throat. "What does it say?" Dr. Morgan clicked a button on her tablet. A 3D projection appeared in the center of the room. Blue light formed into shapes that slowly came together to form what looked like a massive ship. It was angular and imposing, with what clearly looked like weapons mounted on its hull. "It's a blueprint," she said. "The most advanced spacecraft design ever conceived. But that's not all." She swiped her finger across the tablet, and the image changed to show strange symbols. "We're still translating, but from what we can tell, it's a warning. There's something coming. Something dangerous. And this ship is our only hope of survival." 1 month later, the United Nations Security Council held an emergency closed-door session. Representatives from every major nation sat around a large table, their faces grim. "The translation is complete," announced the Secretary General. "The message warns of an advanced alien civilization called the Dominion. They conquer worlds and strip them of resources. According to the warning, they visit systems every few thousand years. Their next visit to our solar system is due soon." "How soon?" asked the American representative. 3 years, maybe less." The Chinese delegate leaned forward. "And this blueprint, can we build it?" Dr. Morgan, now advising the Security Council, nodded slowly. "With a global effort, yes. The technology is beyond us, but the instructions are very detailed. It's as if whoever left this wanted to make sure we could follow them, even with our limited understanding." "Why would they help us?" asked the Russian delegate, suspicion clear in his voice. "The message mentions that the creators were once victims of the Dominion themselves. They escaped and have been working to help other civilizations defend themselves. They couldn't intervene directly without drawing attention to Earth. The room fell silent as everyone processed this information. Finally, the Secretary General spoke. We need to form a unified Earth Defense Council. This project must transcend all national interests. If we fail, there might not be nations left to defend. 6 months passed. In a secure facility beneath the mountains of Switzerland, the Earth Defense Council met again. The room was filled with screens showing construction progress. The moon facility is nearly complete, reported the project director. It's the only place we can build something this size without detection from Earth. On the main screen, a massive structure was taking shape in a crater on the far side of the moon. It would eventually become Earth's first true warship. What about power? Asked one of the council members. Dr. Morgan stepped forward. We're using the alien technology to develop a new form of fusion. Tests are promising. If successful, the ship will have enough power to operate its main weapon system. Which is? Prompted General Adams. A directed energy weapon capable of destroying a star, Dr. Morgan said quietly. Hence the name Star Destroyer. It's designed as a last resort against the Dominion's main fleet. The council members exchanged nervous glances. The power they were creating was beyond anything humanity had wielded before. We've kept this secret long enough, said the Indian representative. People deserve to know what's coming. Not yet, countered General Adams. Mass panic would only slow our progress. We need more time. As they argued, an alarm sounded. One of the technicians rushed into the room. Sir, the fusion test on the moon just went active. It's creating a gravitational anomaly that's affecting Earth's tides. People are noticing. It's all over the news. On a side screen, news reports showed unusual wave patterns hitting coastlines around the world. Earthquakes were being reported in places that never had them before. The Earth was literally shaking. The Secretary General stood up. It seems the decision has been made for us. Prepare a worldwide address. It's time humanity learned the truth about what lies beyond our world and what we must do to survive. Captain Walker, who had been listening quietly, looked at the blueprint of the massive ship on the screen. In just 2 years, it would need to be ready to face an enemy humanity had never seen. An enemy that had conquered countless worlds before them. But Earth had something those other worlds didn't have: advance warning and the means to fight back. The question was whether it would be enough. 3 massive screens displayed the face of the Secretary General as she addressed the world. Her expression was serious, but calm. Citizens of Earth, today I must share with you a truth that will change our understanding of our place in the universe. 6 months ago, we discovered an alien artifact in Antarctica containing advanced technology and a warning. An aggressive species known as the Dominion is approaching our solar system. They have destroyed countless civilizations before us. She paused, letting the information sink in. But we were given a gift. Blueprints for a defensive weapon unlike anything humanity has ever built. For the past 6 months, the nations of Earth have been working together on the moon to construct this vessel. The recent gravitational disturbances you have experienced were the result of testing its power systems. The screen switched to show the massive construction site on the dark side of the moon. A huge ship was taking shape in a crater, surrounded by work lights and construction equipment. This is Project Earth Shield, our best hope for survival. Tom Reed wiped sweat from his forehead as he studied the holographic display. The ship's power core glowed blue in the simulation, pulsing with energy. The fusion containment is still unstable, he said to Maria Davis, who was typing rapidly at a console nearby. If we can't control it, we'll have another gravity wave incident. The last one nearly caused tsunamis on Earth. Maria nodded without looking up. I've been studying the alien designs. I think we're approaching it wrong. They don't just use magnetic containment. There's something else, something about the geometry of the chamber itself. They worked in the largest laboratory built into the lunar facility. Through the reinforced windows, they could see the massive ship under construction. Even half finished, it was incredible. Over 2 kilometers long with a sharp angular design that reminded Tom of an arrowhead. What if we reshape the chamber like this? Maria suggested, manipulating the hologram. The virtual power core changed shape, becoming more complex with angles and curves that seemed to make no sense. Tom frowned. That breaks every rule of engineering I know. Maybe our rules are wrong, Maria said simply. Against his better judgment, Tom agreed to try her design. They spent 3 days reconfiguring the test chamber, working around the clock as the countdown to the Dominion's arrival continued to tick down. When they activated the new core design, something remarkable happened. The fusion reaction that had been so unstable before suddenly calmed. Energy readings stabilized and then climbed higher than they had ever achieved. "It's working," Maria exclaimed, her eyes wide with excitement. "We've done it, Tom." Tom could hardly believe the readings. "This will give us enough power for all systems, including the main weapon." Director Phillips, who oversaw the entire construction project, entered the lab with a rare smile. "Well done, both of you. This is the breakthrough we needed. Now we can accelerate construction." The next 6 months saw the greatest engineering effort in human history. Over 10,000 workers lived on the moon now, working in shifts to complete the massive vessel. The ship had been officially named Thunderbolt, though most workers simply called it Thunder. Captain Walker had been assigned as the liaison between the military and the engineering teams. He stood with Dr. Morgan on an observation platform, watching as massive plates of the special alien alloy were attached to form the ship's outer hull. "Will it be ready in time?" he asked. Dr. Morgan checked her tablet. "At the current pace, we'll be at 85% completion when the Dominion is expected to reach Pluto. It's not ideal, but the essential systems will be operational." Walker nodded. "And the crew?" "Training is ongoing. We're using simulators based on the alien data. Admiral Hayes has been selected to command." Walker had met Hayes once, a tough, experienced naval officer who had been quickly promoted to admiral specifically to lead this mission. The crew would be the best of the best from every nation on Earth. "Look," Dr. Morgan said suddenly, pointing to the ship. The first of the main weapon arrays was being installed. Even unfinished, it looked fearsome. According to the blueprints, when fully powered, it could create a beam of energy so powerful it could destabilize a star's core, causing it to collapse. The ultimate deterrent. "Let's hope we never have to use it," Walker said quietly. 2 years after the discovery in Antarctica, Thunderbolt was nearly complete. Its silver-gray hull gleamed in the harsh lunar sunlight. Test flights of smaller components had been successful, but the main engines had not yet been fired. In the control center, Tom and Maria prepared for the first full power test. "All systems are green," Maria reported. "Fusion core is stable at 60% capacity." Director Phillips gave the order, "Proceed with engine test, low power only." Tom activated the sequence. On the main viewer, they could see the massive engine ports at the rear of Thunderbolt beginning to glow blue. Energy readings climbed steadily. 40% thrust capacity. 45%. 50%, Maria called out. Suddenly, alarms began to sound. The readings jumped unexpectedly. "What's happening?" demanded Phillips. Tom's fingers flew over the controls. "The alien algorithms are overriding our limiters. The system is increasing power automatically." "Shut it down," Phillips shouted. "I can't," Tom replied, genuine fear in his voice. "It's locked us out." On the screen, the engines flared brilliantly. The entire ship shuddered and then impossibly began to rise from its construction cradle. Massive clamps and support structures broke away. "It's not supposed to move yet," Maria cried. "The navigation systems aren't even installed." But Thunderbolt was moving, rising slowly above the lunar surface. The control room fell silent as they watched the impossible happening before their eyes. Then, just as suddenly as it had started, the engines cut off. Thunderbolt settled back into its cradle with surprising gentleness. The computers came back online, and a message appeared on the main screen in both alien symbols, and translated English, diagnostic, complete. Primary systems. Functional, ready for crew integration. Tom and Maria exchanged confused looks. "Did it just test itself?" Tom asked. Before anyone could answer, another alarm sounded. This one was different, an incoming communication from Earth. The main screen changed to show General Adams, his face grim. "We've detected objects entering the solar system at high speed," he announced without preamble. "They've just passed Neptune. Based on their trajectory and speed, they'll reach Mars in 3 days." Phillips paled. "The Dominion. They're early." "Get Thunderbolt ready," ordered General Adams. "Ready or not, it's time to fight." As the control room burst into frantic activity, Dr. Morgan stood quietly by the window, looking at the massive ship. It seemed to her that Thunderbolt wasn't just a weapon they had built. It was almost as if it had awakened, and just in time. Humanity's first, and perhaps only battle for survival, was about to begin. Admiral Robert Hayes stood on the bridge of Thunderbolt, his face illuminated by the blue glow of the command console. Around him, crew members worked at their stations with focused intensity. Though the ship was only 80% complete, it had been pressed into service ahead of schedule. "Status report," Hayes ordered, his voice calm despite the gravity of the situation. "6 Dominion vessels have established position around Pluto," reported the sensor officer, a young woman named Lisa. "They appear to be setting up some kind of base." Hayes studied the tactical display. The alien ships were smaller than Thunderbolt but moved with a precision that suggested advanced technology. "What about Mars Colony?" he asked. Captain Walker, who had been assigned as Hayes's second-in-command, checked his console. "All non-essential personnel have been evacuated. The remaining 200 colonists are in the underground shelters." Hayes nodded. Mars Colony had been humanity's first permanent settlement off Earth, a symbol of their expansion into the solar system. Now it might become the first battleground in an interspecies war. "Time to launch?" Hayes asked. "Final system checks complete in 30 minutes, Admiral," answered Tom Reed, who had been assigned as chief engineer. He looked exhausted but determined. "We're loading the last of the crew and supplies now." Hayes turned to Dr. Morgan, who stood nearby reviewing data on a tablet. "Doctor, what can you tell me about these ships?" Anna Morgan looked up. "Based on the warning we received, these are scout vessels. Their job is to prepare for the arrival of the main fleet. The good news is they're not expecting resistance. The civilizations they've encountered before didn't have time to prepare." "Then we have surprise on our side," Hayes said. "Let's use it." 28 minutes later, alarms blared throughout the lunar base. "Emergency launch," came the announcement over the speakers. "All personnel clear the docking area." Inside Thunderbolt's engine room, Maria Davis worked frantically to stabilize the power systems. "We're pushing the fusion core beyond tested limits," she warned Tom over the communication link. "I can't guarantee it will remain stable under combat conditions." "Do your best," Tom replied from the engineering deck. "We don't have a choice." On the bridge, Hayes received the report that changed everything. "Admiral, 3 Dominion vessels have broken formation and are heading toward Mars at high speed." Hayes didn't hesitate. "Launch now. All stations, prepare for combat." The massive clamps holding Thunderbolt in place released with thunderous clangs that echoed through the hull. The engines came to life, glowing with blue-white energy. The ship rose smoothly from the lunar surface and accelerated toward Mars with a speed that defied its enormous size. "Estimated arrival at Mars, 43 minutes, reported the navigation officer. Hayes nodded. "Faster than any Earth vessel has ever traveled, but I hope it's fast enough." Mars grew larger on the main view screen. Its red surface was marred by the white domes of the human colony. 3 Dominion ships hovered above the largest settlement. "They're deploying something," Lisa reported, studying her sensors. "Energy readings suggest weapons charging." "Bring us out of stealth mode," Hayes ordered. "Full power to shields and weapons." Thunderbolt dropped its energy cloaking as it entered Mars orbit. On the Dominion ships, lights suddenly flared as they detected the massive human vessel appearing seemingly from nowhere. "They're turning to engage," Walker reported. Hayes stood. "Open a channel." After a moment, the view screen changed to show a figure that sent chills through everyone on the bridge. The alien was humanoid, but with gray skin that seemed almost metallic. Its eyes were large and completely black, with no visible pupils. "Attention, Dominion vessels," Hayes said firmly. "This is Admiral Robert Hayes of the Earth Defense Ship Thunderbolt. You are trespassing in Earth-controlled space. Withdraw immediately." The alien's head tilted slightly. When it spoke, its voice was translated by the ship's computers into a flat, emotionless tone. "Unexpected. This system was cataloged as pre-spaceflight civilization. Your level of technology is inconsistent." "We had help," Hayes replied simply. "I won't repeat my warning. Leave our system now." The alien's expression didn't change. "Negative. This system has been claimed for resource extraction. Your resistance is noted but irrelevant." The transmission cut off abruptly. "They're powering weapons," Lisa shouted. "Evasive maneuvers," Hayes ordered. "Return fire, defensive pattern alpha." Thunderbolt moved with surprising agility for its size, banking away as green energy beams lanced out from the lead Dominion ship. The few hits that connected were absorbed by the ship's shields. "Shields holding at 92%, reported Walker. Hayes nodded. "Target the leftmost vessel. Fire main batteries." Thunderbolt's conventional weapons, massive railguns and energy cannons, opened fire. The barrage struck the Dominion ship, causing visible damage to its hull. "Direct hit," Walker exclaimed. "Their shields are down." But the Dominion ships were quick to respond. They spread out, coordinating their attack with a precision that spoke of vast combat experience. Energy beams crisscrossed space, many finding their mark on Thunderbolt's hull. "Shields at 67%, Walker updated. "They're targeting our weapons arrays." In the engine room, Maria worked frantically as systems overloaded around her. "The power core is becoming unstable," she called to Tom. "We need to reduce weapon output." Tom relayed this to the bridge, but Hayes shook his head. "We can't back down now. Divert emergency power to shields and weapons." The battle intensified. Thunderbolt managed to cripple a second Dominion ship, but the third proved more elusive. It darted around the human vessel, striking at vulnerable points. "Hull breach in Section 14, called out the damage control officer. "Emergency teams responding." Hayes gripped the railing of the command platform. "Where's that emergency? Power, Mr. Reed." Tom's voice came back strained. "Working on it, Admiral. Maria is attempting to modify the core geometry to increase output." Suddenly, a new alarm sounded. "Sir!" Lisa called out, her voice tight with urgency. "3 more Dominion ships are approaching from Pluto." Hayes exchanged a grim look with Walker. They couldn't fight 3 more ships in their current condition. Just then, Tom's voice came over the comm. "Admiral, Maria did it. We have access to the secondary power grid. It was locked behind some kind of alien encryption, but the ship, it seems to have granted us access." "The ship?" Hayes questioned. "I can't explain it, sir. It's like it recognized our need." Hayes didn't have time to contemplate this mystery. "Route the power to the main weapon system. It's time to see what this Star Destroyer can really do." On the bridge, panels lit up that had previously been dark. A new targeting system appeared on the main screen, highlighting the approaching Dominion ships. "Main weapon charged and ready," Walker reported, sounding surprised at how quickly it had happened. Hayes took a deep breath. "Target the lead ship and fire." A pulse of energy gathered at the front of Thunderbolt, building quickly, to a blinding intensity. Then it released in a concentrated beam that cut through space toward the Dominion vessel. When it struck, the effect was immediate and devastating. The Dominion ship didn't just break apart. It seemed to fold in on itself, crushed by forces beyond human understanding. The remaining Dominion ships immediately changed course, accelerating away from Mars at maximum speed. "They're retreating," Walker said, his voice filled with disbelief. Hayes nodded slowly. "But they'll be back, and next time, they'll be prepared. For us." He turned to his communications officer. "Send word to Earth. Tell them we've won the first battle, but the war has just begun." As the crew cheered around him, Hayes looked at the tactical display showing the retreating Dominion ships. They were heading back toward the outer solar system, back toward what he assumed was a larger force waiting beyond. Humanity had scored its first victory. But at what cost? And would they be ready when the Dominion returned in force? The repair crews worked day and night to fix Thunderbolt's damaged systems. The battle against the Dominion scouts had taken its toll. Scorch marks marred the once pristine hull, and several sections remained sealed off due to hull breaches. Admiral Hayes stood in the observation lounge watching as space-suited workers moved across the ship's exterior, welding new plates into place. Captain Walker entered quietly and stood beside him. "Damage report, Captain?" Hayes asked without turning. "Repairs are at 68%, Walker replied. "Tom believes we can be fully operational in 3 more days." Hayes nodded. "And our casualties?" Walker's face fell. 17 dead, 43 injured. Medical says most of the injured will recover fully. The first battle had been won, but at a cost. Hayes had written 17 letters to families back on Earth, explaining how their loved ones had died protecting humanity. It was a burden he carried heavily. "New intelligence from deep space probes," Walker continued, handing Hayes a tablet. "Dr. Morgan wants to brief you immediately." In the Strategic Command Center, Dr. Morgan had transformed the room into a 3D map of the solar system and beyond. Small lights indicated the position of Earth forces and the known locations of Dominion ships. "The scouts have retreated beyond Neptune," she began as Hayes entered. "But they're sending constant transmissions toward this area of space." She pointed to a region far beyond Pluto. "What's out there?" Hayes asked. "Based on the data from the alien warning and what our long-range sensors can detect, we believe this is the location of the Dominion's main fleet." Morgan adjusted the display, showing a massive concentration of ships. "And this?" she continued, highlighting one enormous signal. "Appears to be their flagship. We're calling it Oblivion." Hayes studied the display. "How big?" "At least 3 times the size of Thunderbolt," Morgan answered grimly. "And according to the warning left for us, it carries a weapon capable of destabilizing a planet's core. They've used it before to destroy civilizations that resisted." The room fell silent as this information sank in. "Time until they reach Earth?" Hayes finally asked. "At their current speed, 4 weeks. But now that they know we have advanced technology, they'll be cautious. They might send more scouts first." Hayes nodded slowly, his mind racing through options. "They know we have one weapon that can match them. They'll be prepared for it next time." "Which is why we need to surprise them again," said Morgan. "Admiral, I've been studying the propulsion systems more deeply. There's something we missed." She tapped on her tablet and a new set of schematics appeared on the main display. "The ship isn't just designed for conventional space travel. There's a system here that I believe is meant for faster-than-light travel." Hayes looked skeptical. "FTL? That's impossible according to our physics, and our physics, yes. But whoever left us these blueprints clearly had a different understanding of the universe." Morgan highlighted a section of the ship they hadn't yet fully activated. "This appears to be a wormhole generator. In theory, it could create a temporary passage through space-time." Tom Reed, who had joined them silently, stepped forward. "Maria and I discovered some unusual components in the drive system that didn't make sense for normal propulsion. This could explain them." Hayes looked between them. "Are you suggesting we could jump beyond our solar system? Attack them before they reach Earth?" "Theoretically, yes," Morgan answered. "But it would be incredibly risky. We haven't tested the system and we don't fully understand it." Hayes was quiet for a long moment. "Prepare a briefing for Earth Command. I want all the data on this FTL, capability, and an assessment of our chances." The Earth Defense Council meeting was tense. On screens around the room, leaders from every major nation watched as Admiral Hayes presented the plan. "A preemptive strike against the Dominion flagship could cripple their command structure," he explained. "If we wait for them to reach Earth, we'll be fighting their entire fleet in our own backyard." "This is madness," argued the Russian representative. "You're talking about sending our only defense on a suicide mission." "With respect," Hayes countered, "we're talking about taking the fight to them instead of waiting to be slaughtered." The debate continued for hours. Finally, the Secretary General called for a vote. By a narrow margin, the mission was approved. 3. Days later, Thunderbolt's repairs were complete. The crew had been given one last day to contact their families before departing. No one said it out loud, but everyone knew it might be their final goodbye. On the bridge, Hayes took his command chair. All stations report. One by one, each section confirmed readiness. Engineering reports the wormhole generator is online, Tom announced from his station. Maria has reconfigured the power systems to handle the load. Hayes nodded. Navigator, set course for the coordinates Dr. Morgan provided. Course set, Admiral. Hayes took a deep breath. Activate the wormhole generator. Tom initiated the sequence. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then slowly a blue glow began to emanate from the front of the ship. Space itself appeared to bend and distort. Energy readings are off the charts, Lisa called from the sensor station. Something's forming ahead. On the main view screen, they watched as space tore open, forming a swirling tunnel of blue-white. Energy. Wormhole stable, Tom reported, though his voice betrayed his amazement. It's actually working. Take us in, Hayes ordered, half thrust. Thunderbolt moved forward, approaching the wormhole's entrance. As the ship entered the swirling vortex, vibrations shook the entire vessel. Lights flickered, and several systems went offline temporarily. Hull integrity holding, Walker reported. We're inside the wormhole. Through the view screen, they could see nothing but swirling energy patterns. The ship continued forward, shaking violently as it traveled through the fabric of space-time itself. Then suddenly the vibrations stopped. The blue-white energy disappeared and they emerged into normal space. Location? Hayes demanded. Lisa worked her console frantically. Checking stars against database. Sir, we're approximately 40 light-years from Earth. The jump worked. A cheer went up from the bridge crew, but Hayes quickly restored order. Stealth systems online, passive sensors only. Let's see what's out here. As the sensors began to scan, the crew fell silent. On the view screen, they could see a massive fleet of Dominion ships gathered around a central world. And at the center of the fleet was the largest vessel any of them had ever seen. Oblivion, Hayes whispered. Admiral, Lisa called, her voice tense. I'm detecting something else. Other ships, but with different energy signatures than the Dominion vessels. They appear to be under attack. Dr. Morgan moved to the sensor station. These readings, they match descriptions from the warning. I think these are ships from other civilizations that the Dominion has conquered. Can we communicate with them? Hayes asked. Morgan nodded slowly. Maybe. The warning contained communication protocols. If some of these species are the ones who left us the blueprints, do it, Hayes ordered. Carefully. Encoded channel only. As Morgan worked to establish contact, Hayes studied the massive Dominion fleet. They had come to launch a preemptive strike, but now faced a force far larger than intelligence had suggested. Sir, called the communications officer, we're receiving a response to Dr. Morgan's signal, audio only. Put it through, Hayes ordered. A voice spoke in a strange musical language that the ship's computer quickly translated. Unknown vessel, you are not Dominion. Identify yourselves. Hayes nodded to Morgan, who replied, We are from Earth. We've come to fight the Dominion. There was a pause, then, Earth? The protected world? You were not meant to join this fight for many cycles yet. Hayes took over. We had no choice. The Dominion found us. We built the weapon you left for us. Another long pause. Then perhaps there is hope after all. We are the Resistance, and you have arrived just in time. The meeting chamber aboard the Resistance flagship was unlike anything the humans had ever seen. The ceiling curved in impossible angles, and the walls seemed to shimmer with a soft blue light. Around a large circular table sat representatives from 6 different alien species. Some looked almost human, while others were completely different in form. Admiral Hayes, Captain Walker, Dr. Morgan, and Tom Reed represented Earth. They sat quietly, As the leader of the resistance, a tall being with silvery skin named Talon explained their situation. The Dominion has ruled this sector of the galaxy for over 10,000 years, Talon said, his translator converting his musical language to English. They find developing worlds, harvest their resources, and enslave their populations. Those who resist are destroyed. How have you managed to fight them for so long? Hayes asked. A smaller alien with 4 arms gestured to the hologram in the center of the table. We hide. We strike when possible. But we have never had a weapon that could truly threaten their command ship. Dr. Morgan leaned forward. The blueprints you left on Earth. Why us? Talon's expression changed in a way that suggested a smile. Your world was special. Your species develops quickly, adapts, solves problems in unique ways. We left similar blueprints on 100 worlds. Only Earth managed to build the weapon, in time. And now you want us to use it against Oblivion, Hayes stated. Talon nodded. The Dominion fleet is preparing to depart for your solar system. The main ship carries a weapon that can destroy planets. If they reach Earth. We understand, Hayes said firmly. But Thunderbolt is just one ship. Even with its main weapon, we can't take on their entire fleet. The 4-armed alien, who introduced himself as Mira, brought up a new hologram. We have a plan. Our combined fleet can create a diversion. While their forces are engaged with us, Thunderbolt can approach Oblivion from this trajectory. A line appeared on the hologram showing a path through the Dominion fleet. It's risky, Walker observed. Everything about this mission is risky, Captain, Hayes replied. He studied the plan for a moment, then nodded. We'll do it. When do we attack? The Dominion ships are scheduled to begin their journey toward Earth in 6 hours, Talon answered. We strike before they depart. Back aboard Thunderbolt, Hayes addressed the crew through the ship-wide communication system. Men and women of Earth, today we fight not just for our world, but for all worlds threatened by the Dominion. We are outmatched and far from home, but we have one advantage. They don't expect us to be here. They don't expect us to have allies. He paused. Some of us may not return from this mission, but those who do will tell Earth that when humanity faced its greatest challenge, we did not hide. We stood and fought. In the engine room, Maria worked frantically with Tom to prepare the ship's systems for battle. The main weapon drained almost all our power when we used it against one ship, Maria said, concern clear in her voice. How are we supposed to take down something the size of Oblivion? Tom looked thoughtful. What if we overload the core? Channel. Everything we have, life support, shields, everything, into one massive burst? That would destroy the ship, Maria protested. Maybe, Tom admitted, but it might be our only chance to destroy Oblivion. 3 hours later, the combined fleet of Resistance ships moved into position. Thunderbolt, with its advanced stealth systems, held back, waiting for the diversion to begin. On the bridge, Hayes watched as the first wave of Resistance fighters attacked the outer perimeter of the Dominion fleet. Explosions flashed in the darkness of space as the battle began. Dominion ships are responding to the attack, Lisa reported from her sensor station. Their defensive line is moving to engage. Hayes nodded. Hold position. Wait for the opening. The battle intensified. The Resistance ships were smaller and more agile, but the Dominion vessels had superior firepower. For every Dominion ship disabled, 2 Resistance craft were destroyed. Sir, Walker said quietly, at this rate, the Resistance will be wiped out before we get our shot. Hayes knew he was right. Prepare to move in, maximum stealth. Thunderbolt glided forward, its advanced cloaking systems making it nearly invisible against the backdrop of space. They passed within kilometers of Dominion cruisers engaged in battle, undetected. We're approaching Oblivion, the navigator announced. 2 minutes to weapons range. Hayes opened a channel to engineering. Mr. Reed, status of the main weapon? Tom's voice came back tense. Ready, Admiral. But as we discussed, I've modified the firing sequence. Once initiated, we'll have 5 minutes before the core overloads. Understood. Hayes turned to Walker. Prepare evacuation protocols. Once we fire, I want all non-essential personnel to the escape pods. Suddenly, alarms blared. "We've been detected," Lisa called out. "Dominion ships are breaking off to intercept us." "Time to weapons range?" Hayes demanded. 90 seconds, but we'll have company before then." Hayes made his decision. "All power to engines. Get us to firing position." Thunderbolt surged forward, abandoning stealth for speed. Energy beams from Dominion ships lanced toward them, some finding their mark. "Shields at 60%, Walker reported. "Taking heavy damage on decks 4 through 7. The massive form of Oblivion grew larger on the view screen. It was a terrifying sight. A ship the size of a small moon bristling with weapons. "Weapons range in 15 seconds, the tactical officer called. Another hit rocked the ship. "Hull, breach in engineering," someone shouted. Hayes opened the channel again. "Tom, status?" There was no response. "Engineering report," Hayes demanded. Finally, Maria's voice came through, shaking and distant. "Tom's been injured, Admiral. The breach. He's trying to stabilize the core manually." Hayes felt a cold fear grip him. "Can you fire the main weapon?" "Yes, but someone needs to stay and manage the overload sequence. The system is damaged. It needs manual control." Before Hayes could respond, Tom's voice cut in, weak but determined. "I've got it, Admiral. Get the ship to firing position. I'll handle the rest." In that moment, Hayes knew what Tom was planning. "Mr. Reed?" "It's the only way, sir. The system won't hold. Someone has to stay and make sure the power flows correctly." There was a pause. "It's been an honor." Hayes closed his eyes briefly. "The honor is ours, Mr. Reed." He turned to the tactical officer. "Target Oblivion's command center. Fire when ready." Thunderbolt's main weapon began to charge, drawing power from every system on the ship. Lights dimmed and non-essential systems shut down automatically. "Dominion ships closing in," Walker warned. 30 seconds until they're in range." "They're too late," Hayes said quietly. "Fire." The massive energy beam erupted from Thunderbolt, more powerful than before. It cut through space and struck Oblivion, directly in its command section. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly, cracks of bright energy began to spread across the massive ship's hull. In engineering, Tom worked at a damaged console, manually routing power to maintain the beam. Blood trickled from a wound on his forehead, but his hands moved steadily. As the power levels reached critical, he opened a channel to the bridge one last time. "It's working, Admiral. The reaction is building. Get everyone out now." Hayes gave the order. "All hands to escape pods. Evacuate immediately." He turned to Walker. "Captain, get everyone off the bridge." "What about you, sir?" "I'll be right behind you. Go." As the bridge crew evacuated, Hayes watched the view screen. Oblivion was breaking apart, secondary explosions cascading along its length. Around it, Dominion. Ships were falling into disarray. Hayes opened a final channel to engineering. "Tom, if you can hear me, your sacrifice won't be forgotten. Earth will know what you did here today." There was no response, but Hayes liked to think that Tom heard him. The Admiral took one last look at the bridge of humanity's first Star Destroyer, then made his way to the last escape pod. 3 weeks later, a small fleet of ships emerged from a wormhole near Earth. Leading them was a battered resistance vessel carrying Admiral Hayes, Captain Walker, Dr. Morgan, and the surviving crew of Thunderbolt. Behind them came ships of the Resistance, representatives of civilizations that had fought the Dominion for generations. They had come to meet Earth, to welcome humanity into the greater galactic community. As they approached Earth, Hayes stood by a viewport watching his home planet grow larger. "Was it worth it?" Dr. Morgan asked, joining him. Hayes thought of Tom Reed and the others who had given their lives. He thought of Thunderbolt, Earth's first Star Destroyer, now gone but not forgotten. "Yes," he said finally. "We're free. And we're not alone anymore." On the view screen, a message appeared from Earth Command. "Welcome home, heroes." And behind that message was the image of a new ship under construction in Earth orbit. Larger, more powerful, and built with the combined knowledge of Earth and its new allies. The second Star Destroyer was taking shape, ready to defend not just Earth, but all free worlds in the galaxy.
The sky over Earth burned red, not the gentle red of sunset, but the angry crimson of fire and destruction. Captain James Walker stood on the bridge of the HSS Defiant, watching through the main view screen as his homeworld suffered under the alien bombardment. "Status report," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos. Lieutenant Alex Reed looked up from the tactical station. His young face was pale but determined. "Orbital defenses are at 12% and falling, sir. Earth Command reports total failure of ground shields in Asia and Europe." Walker nodded. He had known this day might come, but that didn't make it easier. The United Galactic Confederation, UGC for short, had finally brought their full might against Earth. 10 years of war had led to this moment. "Communications," Walker called. Officer Diane Miller turned from her station. Her eyes were red, but her voice remained professional. "Sir, I'm receiving emergency broadcasts from all continents. And a message from Admiral Jones." Walker straightened his uniform. On screen, the image of Earth disappeared, replaced by the tired face of Admiral Jones. Smoke filled the background of the transmission. "Captain Walker," Jones said, coughing, "this is my final order. Take the Defiant and go." "Sir, we can still fight." "No, James. Earth is lost. But humanity doesn't have to die here." Jones leaned closer to the camera. "The Defiant is our most advanced ship. It has the experimental tech. Athena is fully online. You know what to do." Walker wanted to argue, but years of military discipline held him back. "Yes, sir. The UGC thinks they've won. They're already celebrating." Jones smiled sadly. "Show them why they should have feared us more. Now go, before they realize what we're doing." The transmission cut out as an explosion rocked the Earth Command building. Walker turned to his crew. 250 faces looked back at him, the best pilots, engineers, and soldiers humanity had to offer. Many had tears in their eyes. All waited for his command. "Set course away from Earth," Walker ordered. "Maximum stealth. Engineer Foster, activate the experimental shield harmonics." Maria Foster, the ship's chief engineer, nodded. Her hands flew over the control panel. "Shield harmonics active, Captain. They won't see us leave." The Defiant slipped away from Earth's orbit as the UGC ships continued their bombardment. Their sensors, designed to detect normal human ships, couldn't track the Defiant's new technology. 3 hours later, the bridge crew watched in silent horror as Earth's last defenses fell. The blue planet, home to billions of humans, was scared by fire and radiation. The UGC broadcast their victory across all channels. "Humans were too dangerous to exist within our peaceful community," announced High Admiral Thorne, leader of the Arcturus species and head of the UGC Council. His gray, scaled face filled the screen. Their aggression, their unpredictability, their constant innovation of weapons, all pose too great a risk to galactic stability. Today, we have removed that threat forever. Walker shut off the broadcast. "That's enough." The bridge was silent except for a few quiet sobs. Walker waited a moment before speaking again. "I know what we've lost today," he said. "Parents, children, friends, our home. But Earth isn't just a planet. It's an idea. It's in us, in this ship, in what we do next." He stood and walked slowly around the bridge, meeting the eyes of each crew member. "The UGC thinks humanity is beaten. They're wrong. We are the last warship of Earth, and we will not go quietly." Lieutenant Reed spoke up. "Sir, there are more than 10,000 ships in the UGC fleet. We're just one vessel." Walker nodded. "Yes, one vessel with Earth's most advanced technology. One vessel they don't know exists. One vessel with the best damned crew in the galaxy." He turned to the ship's eye control panel. "Athena, are you online?" A calm female voice answered from the ship's speakers. "I am fully operational, Captain Walker." "Run tactical analysis. If the Defiant were to engage in guerrilla warfare against UGC targets, What would be our survival odds? The eye was silent for 2.8 seconds, an eternity for a quantum computer. Conventional analysis suggests a 98.7% probability of destruction within 3 months. Several crew members looked down, hope fading from their faces. However, HFY continued. If we implement unconventional human battle strategies and utilize my adaptive learning algorithms alongside the experimental technologies, survival probability increases to 57.3%. With successful initial operations, this could improve further. Walker smiled. Better than the odds Earth faced. He walked to the center of the bridge and pressed a button on the command chair. His voice would now reach every crew member on the ship. All hands, this is Captain Walker. Today, Earth fell. The UGC believes they have won, that humanity is defeated. They're celebrating their victory, patting themselves on the back for wiping out the dangerous humans. He paused, letting his words sink in. But they missed one ship, us, and that will be their biggest mistake. The Defiant carries Earth's legacy, our determination, our creativity, and yes, our capacity for righteous anger when faced with injustice. Walker's voice grew stronger. I won't lie to you. The path ahead is dangerous. We are one ship against a galaxy. But throughout history, humans have faced impossible odds and prevailed. We adapt. We overcome. We endure. Around the ship, crew members straightened in their seats. Each of you was chosen for this ship because you're the best at what you do. Now, I'm asking you to be even better. We will strike where they least expect. We will disappear before they can respond. We will show the galaxy why humans were feared. Engineer Foster stood up. For Earth, she said firmly. Lieutenant Reed joined her. For Earth. One by one, the entire bridge crew stood, repeating the phrase. Walker nodded, his eyes bright with purpose. Medical Officer Grant, prep the cryo chambers for rotational shifts. We'll need to conserve resources. Lieutenant Reed, begin analyzing UGC patrol patterns. Officer Miller, I want you monitoring every UGC communication you can intercept. As the crew turned to their tasks with renewed determination, Walker looked once more at the distant image of Earth, now partly dark from the destruction. Make your course to the Horsehead Nebula, he ordered the helm. We'll hide there while we plan our first strike. The Defiant's engines hummed as the ship accelerated to light speed, vanishing among the stars. Behind them, the UGC fleets moved away from Earth, satisfied with their victory. They had no idea what was coming. In the darkness of space, one human warship carried the future of an entire species, and Captain James Walker intended to make sure that future would be one the galaxy would never forget. 3 months passed with the Defiant hidden deep in the Horsehead Nebula. The nebula's dense gas and dust clouds blocked most scans, giving the human crew time to plan and prepare. Captain Walker spent these months studying ancient Earth military history, focusing on guerrilla warfare tactics used by smaller forces against larger enemies. Today was the day they would finally strike back. Walker stood in the center of the bridge, looking at the 3D map HFY had created. Is everyone clear on the mission? Lieutenant Reed nodded from the tactical station. Crystal clear, sir. We hit the supply depot, grab what we need, and disappear before their reinforcements arrive. The target was simple. A UGC supply depot that serviced the alien ships patrolling the former human colony worlds. It was far from any major UGC base, with only light defenses. The perfect first target. Engineer Foster, how are our systems? Walker asked. Maria Foster looked up from her console with a tired smile. These 3 months had been hard on everyone, but especially the engineering team working around the clock to prepare the ship. All systems at peak performance, Captain. The quantum torpedoes are ready, and HFY has been fully integrated with our targeting systems. Walker nodded. Athena, final analysis. The AI's calm voice filled the bridge. Based on intercepted UGC communications and patrol schedules, we have an 82.3% chance of completing the mission with minimal damage. The depot's current defensive capabilities are limited to 3 patrol ships and basic shield technology. Good odds, Walker said. He looked around at his crew. Many still carried the haunted look of those who had watched their homeworld die. But now, there was something else in their eyes. Determination. Purpose. Helm, set course for the UGC supply depot at Outpost 473. Maximum stealth until my command. The Defiant slipped out of the nebula, its advanced stealth systems making it nearly invisible to standard UGC sensors. At half-light speed, they approached the supply depot, a large space station surrounded by cargo containers and docked ships. "We're within range," Captain Reed reported. Walker took a deep breath. This was the moment they had been waiting for. Athena, initiate Combat Protocol Alpha. Officer Miller, prepare to jam their communications on my mark. Ready, sir, Miller replied from the communication station. All hands, battle stations, Walker ordered. Throughout the ship, crew members moved with practiced efficiency to their positions. Lieutenant Reed, target their sensor array and defense grid with quantum torpedoes. Reed's fingers danced across his console. Targets locked. Walker stood, his voice clear and firm. Fire. The Defiant decloaked as 4 quantum torpedoes streaked toward the supply depot. The UGC had never seen weapons like these, torpedoes that could partially phase through standard shields. The first 2 hit the depot's sensor array, destroying it instantly. The second pair disabled the main defense grid. Direct hits, sir. Reed called out, excitement in his voice. Their shields are down. Officer Miller, jam all outgoing communications now, Walker ordered. Miller nodded sharply. Communications jammed, Captain. They won't be calling for help. Walker watched the view screen as panic spread through the depot. The 3 patrol ships scrambled to respond, but they were slow. The UGC had grown complacent after their victory over Earth. Reed, disable those patrol ships. Target engines only. The Defiant's main guns fired with precision. Athena's targeting algorithms were flawless, hitting each ship exactly where intended. Within moments, all 3 UGC vessels were drifting, unable to pursue. Foster, initiate docking procedure with the main supply hub. Walker ordered. Boarding team, prepare to move out. You have 15 minutes to secure the supplies we need. The boarding team, led by Security Chief John Davis, moved quickly through the depot. The alien workers offered little resistance. Most had never seen actual combat, and none had ever faced angry humans before. Captain, we're securing food, medical supplies, and fuel cells, Davis reported over the comm. There's also a data core containing UGC patrol routes and communication codes. Excellent. Grab it all, Walker replied. 10 minutes remaining. On the bridge, Officer Miller suddenly straightened in her chair. Captain, I'm detecting a transmission that got through our jamming. It's weak, but it reached the nearest UGC outpost. They're sending ships, at least 5 cruisers. Walker nodded calmly. This was expected. No plan survived first contact with the enemy. How long do we have? 22 minutes until they arrive, Miller reported. More than enough time, Walker said. Davis, status. We've got everything, Captain. Returning to the ship now. 5 minutes later, the boarding team returned with their valuable cargo. Engineer Foster had also managed to siphon additional fuel for the Defiant's engines. All personnel aboard, Captain, Reed confirmed. Disengage docking clamps. Helm, prepare for maximum acceleration on my mark. Walker watched the tactical display as the UGC reinforcements approached. Athena, plot a course through the Calera asteroid field. Captain, Reed objected. The Calera field is extremely dangerous. The asteroids are densely packed and highly unstable. Walker smiled slightly. Exactly. The UGC ships are bigger and less maneuverable than we are. They won't follow us in there. Course plotted. ATENA confirmed. Mark. Walker ordered. The Defiant shot away from the depot at full speed, leaving behind 3 disabled patrol ships and a damaged supply station. The human warship reached the edge of the Calera asteroid field just as the UGC reinforcements arrived at the depot. "They're pursuing," Captain Miller reported. "As expected," Walker said calmly. "Helm, take us into the asteroid field." "Athena, guide us through." The Defiant dove into the swirling mass of rocks and ice. The ship twisted and turned with incredible precision, avoiding collisions by mere meters sometimes. Behind them, 2 UGC ships attempted to follow. "They're still on our tail," Reed reported, gripping his console as the ship made another sharp turn. Walker nodded. "Engineer Foster, prepare to detonate one of our mines." During their approach, the Defiant had quietly dropped several small mines, another technology the UGC hadn't encountered before. "Mine ready, Captain," Foster confirmed. Walker watched the tactical display carefully. "Wait for it. Now." The mine exploded, sending hundreds of asteroid fragments hurtling in all directions. The UGC ships, unable to maneuver quickly enough, suffered heavy damage. One lost its engines completely and drifted into a larger asteroid, exploding on impact. The other pulled back, abandoning the pursuit. The bridge crew of the Defiant cheered. "Secure from battle stations," Walker ordered, allowing himself a small smile. "Set course for our secondary hiding location in the Vega Nebula. Maximum stealth once we clear the asteroid field." As the Defiant slipped away, the crew began to catalog their captured supplies and data. The raid had been more successful than they had dared to hope. Later that night, in his private quarters, Walker recorded a message. He knew the UGC would eventually intercept it. That was the point. To the United Galactic Confederation. "You believe humanity died with Earth. You were wrong. We are still here, and we will not be forgotten. This is just the beginning." He ended the recording and sent it on a burst transmission to every UGC frequency they had discovered. Throughout UGC space, the message played on thousands of screens. On dozens of occupied human colony worlds, people heard the captain's words and began to hope again. In the UGC headquarters on Arcturus Prime, High Admiral Thorne watched the message with growing rage. "Find that ship," he ordered his subordinates. "I want it destroyed immediately." But the Defiant was already gone, hidden among the stars, planning its next strike. The hunt had begun. 6 months after Earth's destruction, the HSS Defiant had become a legend across UGC space. The human warship had struck 23 targets, destroyed or disabled over 40 UGC vessels, and disappeared like a ghost each time. Captain Walker stood on the bridge, reviewing their latest successful mission. Damage report. Engineer Foster looked up from her console. "Minor damage to our port shield generators. I can have them fixed in 6 hours." Walker nodded. "Good work. And what about our target?" Lieutenant Reed smiled. "The weapons facility is completely disabled, sir. They won't be building any more planet-killer bombs there." The crew had changed over these 6 months. Gone were the haunted looks of grief. Now they moved with confidence and purpose. Athena had helped them perfect their hit-and-run tactics, with the AI continuously learning and adapting their combat strategies. "Captain," Officer Miller called from communications, "I'm picking up a distress signal from a UGC research station in the Orion sector. It's not a standard UGC frequency." Walker frowned. "Put it through." A weak voice came through the speakers. It spoke in broken English. "Help. Prisoners. Experiments. Not much time." The bridge fell silent. It could be a trap. Reed said what everyone was thinking. Walker considered this. Athena. Analysis. The AI responded promptly. "The transmission originates from Research Station Gamma 9. Intelligence from our previous raids indicates this facility is used for classified biological research. The signal uses an old Earth emergency frequency that the UGC would be unlikely to know. Walker made his decision. Set course for the research station. Maximum stealth. We'll assess the situation before committing to action. 3 hours later, the Defiant hung in space near the research station, a large ring-shaped structure with multiple docking bays. Scans showed minimal defensive capabilities, but several labs and containment areas. I'm detecting life forms in the containment sections, Reed reported. Not human. And not any UGC species we've encountered before. Walker stood. I'll lead the boarding party. Reed, you're with me. Dr. Grant, prepare the medical bay for possible injured. Foster, keep the engines hot. We may need to leave quickly. The boarding team, equipped with advanced stealth suits, entered the station through a maintenance airlock. They moved silently through the corridors, avoiding the few UGC guards. In the main lab, they found the source of the distress call, and much more. By all that's holy, Medical Officer Grant whispered as they entered the containment area. 3 different alien species were being held in separate cells. One group looked like tall, crystalline beings with multiple limbs. Their bodies seemed to shimmer with inner light. Another species appeared aquatic, with blue-green skin and large, intelligent eyes. The third were small, gray-skinned creatures with 6-fingered hands and oversized heads. Walker approached the nearest cell. The crystalline being inside moved forward. "You are human?" it asked in halting English. Walker nodded. "I'm Captain Walker of the HSS Defiant." "The ghost ship," the being said. "We heard stories. I am Saddle of the Novan. We sent the signal. We hoped." Reed was checking the security systems. "Captain, we got maybe 10 minutes before the next guard rotation." Walker turned back to Axel. "We're going to get you all out of here." "What is this place?" "They experiment on us," Zal explained. "The UGC. They take species they think are useful but not civilized enough for membership. We are tools to them." Walker's jaw tightened. "Not anymore. Reed, get these cells open." Within minutes, they had freed the prisoners, 12 Novan crystalline beings, 8 of the aquatic aliens, who called themselves Elori, and 15 of the small gray aliens, the Vril. "We must hurry," said Tal, one of the Vril. "Guards will come. We know way to shuttles." Led by the Vril, who knew the station layout, the expanded group made their way to the shuttle bay. They encountered 2 guard patrols, but the combination of human weapons and the strange abilities of their new allies. The Novan could manipulate metals, while the Elori seemed to sense danger before it appeared, allowed them to overcome the resistance. They reached the Defiant with only moments to spare before a general alarm sounded throughout the station. "Cast off. All hands to battle stations," Walker ordered as they rushed onto the bridge. The freed aliens were escorted to the cargo bay, which Dr. Grant had hastily converted to a temporary shelter. The Defiant pulled away from the station just as UGC defense systems came online. 2 patrol ships moved to intercept. "Hold on," Walker warned everyone. "Athena, evasive pattern Delta." The ship lurched as it executed a complex series of maneuvers. The UGC ships fired, but their shots went wide as the Defiant's new shield harmonics scattered their targeting systems. "Return fire," Walker ordered. "Disable their engines only." The Defiant's weapons struck with surgical precision. Within moments, both UGC ships were drifting helplessly. "Get us out of here," Walker said. "Maximum speed to the rendezvous point." Once they were safely away, Walker went to check on their rescued passengers. Dr. Grant was already treating injuries and running scans. "Fascinating biology," Grant told Walker. "The Novan are silicon-based, not carbon like us. The Elori have a kind of natural telepathy. They can sense emotions and intentions. And the Vril, absolutely brilliant minds. They were forced to develop weapons for the UGC." Zal approached Walker. You saved us. Why? We are not human. Walker looked at the alien thoughtfully. Because it was right, and because we have a common enemy. Over the next few days, the crew of the Defiant learned more about their new allies. The Novan had natural engineering abilities, able to shape metal and crystal with their touch. The Ilori's telepathic abilities made them excellent at anticipating enemy actions. The Vril were technical geniuses who had been forced to build weapons for the UGC for decades. In the ship's conference room, Walker met with representatives from each species. The UGC has controlled our worlds for centuries, explained Tal of the Vril. They call us lesser species, use us like tools. We are not the only ones, added Mary and Ilori. Dozens of worlds suffer under UGC rule. When they found Earth, they feared humans would help us rebel. That is why they destroyed your world. Walker absorbed this information. What had started as a mission of survival and revenge was becoming something bigger. I have a proposal, he said finally. The Defiant can't free all these worlds alone, but together we might start something that could change the galaxy. He outlined his plan, a resistance network across UGC space. The Defiant would continue its raids, drawing UGC forces away from occupied worlds. Meanwhile, their new allies would establish contact with other subjugated species, building the Hidden Alliance. It will be dangerous, Walker warned. The UGC is powerful. Kazel's crystalline body glowed brighter. So is hope, and you have given us that. As the meeting ended, Walker returned to the bridge. On the main screen, he could see a UGC news broadcast showing High Admiral Thorne. We have committed half the UGC Navy to hunting down the human terrorist vessel, Thorne was saying. This menace will be eliminated. Walker smiled. Half the UGC Navy chasing one ship meant many occupied worlds would have reduced protection, exactly what they needed. The captain looked around at his crew, now working alongside their new alien allies. What had begun as humanity's last stand was becoming a galaxy-wide revolution. And it was just beginning. 1 year after Earth's destruction, the HSS Defiant had transformed from a lone warship into the center of a growing rebellion. Captain Walker stood in the newly expanded war room, studying the galactic map with his diverse command team. Humans alongside Novan, Ilori, and Vril allies. UGC fleet movements show they're still searching for us in the Perseus Arm, Lieutenant Reed said, pointing to a cluster of red dots on the map. But our intelligence network reports growing unrest on at least 20 occupied worlds. Walker nodded. The past 6 months had seen their small resistance grow beyond what any of them had imagined. The Defiant itself had changed, enhanced with Novan crystalline technology that strengthened its hull and improved energy efficiency. The Vril had modified their weapon systems, making them even more effective against UGC ships. Most impressive was the integration of Ilori telepathic interfaces with HFY. The AI could now anticipate enemy actions seconds before they happened, giving the Defiant an almost supernatural advantage in combat. Our next target must send a message, Walker said, not just to the UGC, but to everyone watching from the shadows. Zell, now the Novan representative on Walker's council, stepped forward. The crystalline beam's body pulsed with blue light as it spoke. Our spies report Commander Grell has gathered an elite strike force, 15 of their best warships. They plan to ambush us. Where? Walker asked. The Orion Nebula, replied Mary, the Ilori representative. Her large, expressive eyes blinked thoughtfully. They believe we will attack the fuel depot there. Walker smiled slightly. They're right. That was our next target. It's a trap then, Reed said with concern. Yes, Walker agreed. And we're going to spring it. He outlined his plan. It was bold, perhaps even reckless, but if it worked, it would change everything. 3 days later, the Defiant approached the edge of the Orion Nebula. The colorful gases and dust clouds created a stunning backdrop for what was about to unfold. All stations report ready, Captain Reed announced. Walker nodded. All hands, battle stations, begin Operation Turning Point. The Defiant moved into the nebula, its advanced sensors cutting through the cosmic haze that would blind most ships. Behind them, 12 small, unmanned drones followed at a distance, a new technology developed by the human Vril engineering team. UGC fleet detected, reported Officer Miller from Communications. 15 warships, positioned exactly where intelligence suggested. They're waiting for us to reach the fuel depot before springing their trap, Walker said. Let's surprise them first. Athena, initiate attack pattern Omega. The AI's voice was calm as ever. Attack pattern Omega initiated, calculating optimal positions for drone deployment. The Defiant accelerated suddenly, diving deeper into the nebula. The drones spread out, taking positions throughout the area. UGC fleet is moving to intercept, Reed reported. They'd spotted us. Walker smiled. Good. Miller, open a channel to Commander Grell's flagship. On the main view screen, the stern face of Commander Grell appeared. The alien's reptilian features twisted into what might have been a smile. Captain Walker, Grell said. Finally, the end of your little rebellion. Commander Grell, Walker replied politely. I'm afraid you've misunderstood the situation. This isn't the end of anything. It's just the beginning. Before Grell could respond, Walker cut the transmission. Now, Athena. The AI activated the drones. Each small craft emitted a powerful electromagnetic pulse, specially calibrated to the frequency of UGC shield systems. At the same time, the Defiant fired a spread of quantum torpedoes directly at Grell's command ship. The results were devastating. Shields flickered and failed across the UGC fleet as the electromagnetic pulses did their work. The torpedoes struck Grell's ship, disabling its main weapons and propulsion systems. All drones functioning at optimal capacity, HFY reported. UGC fleet defenses at 23% and falling. Walker stood, his voice firm. Target their weapons and engines only. I want disabled ships, not destroyed ones. The battle that followed was unlike anything the UGC had ever experienced. The Defiant moved with impossible precision, anticipating every maneuver the enemy ships attempted. When the UGC vessels fired, the Defiant was already somewhere else. When the Defiant fired, its shot struck with unerring accuracy. 10 enemy ships disabled, Reed reported, barely containing his excitement. 4 retreating. Grell's command ship is hailing us, Miller added. Walker straightened his uniform. On screen, Commander Grell's face appeared again, but all arrogance was gone. Smoke filled the bridge behind him, and sparks flew from damaged consoles. How? Grell demanded. How can one ship defeat 15? Walker looked at him steadily. Because we're not fighting just for survival, Commander. We're fighting for freedom, not just for humans, but for all the species the UGC has oppressed. He nodded to Miller, who cut the transmission. Prepare boarding teams, Walker ordered. I want every piece of intelligence we can salvage from those ships. The aftermath of the battle yielded more than just military intelligence. The Defiant's crews found evidence of growing dissent within the UGC itself. Several member species had begun questioning the Council's policies, especially after repeated failures to capture one human vessel. Most valuable was a secured transmission from High Admiral Thorne to the UGC Council. Walker and his command team watched it in the war room. The situation has become untenable, Thorne was saying, his gray-scaled face twisted with rage. If conventional means cannot eliminate this threat, we must resort to more extreme measures. Project Supernova must be accelerated. Project Supernova, Reed asked. Tall, the Vril representative, looked up with alarm. Weapon, very bad weapon, can destroy entire solar systems. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Later that night, Walker recorded a transmission of his own. But this one was directed not at the UGC, but at the oppressed worlds throughout the galaxy. Today, one ship defeated 15 of the UGC's best warships, he said, not because our technology is superior, but because our cause is just. The UGC wants you to believe they are invincible. They are not. They want you to remain divided and afraid. You must not. The time for hiding is over. The time for resistance has begun. Join us. Together, we can build a galaxy where no species dominates another, where all sentient beings live in freedom. The message spread like wildfire. On dozens of worlds, beings of all kinds watched and listened. Some were inspired to open rebellion. Others began quiet sabotage of UGC operations. Many simply began to hope. In the following weeks, ships from other species began to join the Defiant. First a few, then dozens. A fleet was forming. On the bridge of the Defiant, Walker looked out at the growing assembly of vessels. What had started with one human warship was becoming an armada. Athena, he said quietly, begin planning our next mission. It's time to take this fight directly to the UGC Council. The AI's voice held a note of what sounded almost like satisfaction. Already calculating optimal approach vectors to Arcturus Prime, Captain. The final battle was coming. 18 months after Earth's destruction, a remarkable fleet gathered at the edge of the Arcturus system. At its center was the HSS Defiant, now bearing scars from countless battles, but still proud and deadly. Around it flew 200 ships from 24 different species, former slaves and subjects of the United Galactic Confederation, now united in rebellion. On the Defiance Bridge, Captain Walker studied the tactical display showing Arcturus Prime, the UGC capital planet. Heavily defended, it had never faced a serious threat before. Final status report, Walker ordered. Lieutenant Reed, now commander of the fleet's tactical operations, responded first. All ships report ready, Captain. The main fleet will engage UGC defenses here and here. He pointed to key positions. While they're distracted, the Defiant will proceed with the primary mission. Engineer Foster spoke next. The cloaking device is operational, Captain. Combine Novan Vril human technology. It should mask us from UGC sensors for approximately 40 minutes. That will be enough, Walker said confidently. Zal approached, the Novan's crystalline body glowing with a steady blue light. My people are ready, Captain. The crystals have been programmed with the evidence. Walker nodded. In the cargo bay, specially grown Novan memory crystals contained proof of the UGC's crimes against countless species over centuries. These would be crucial to their plan. All strike team members report to the shuttle bay, Walker ordered. This is what we've been fighting for. Today, we end the UGC's reign of terror. As the fleet moved into position, Walker met with his strike team, a mix of humans, Novan, Elori, and Vril. Each had been chosen for their specific skills. We have one chance at this, Walker told them. While our fleet engages their defenses, we'll take the Defiant in under cloak. Our target is the council chamber during their emergency session. High Admiral Thorne will be there with the entire UGC leadership. The plan was bold, perhaps even foolhardy, but bold action had brought them this far. Athena, Walker asked the ship's AI. Final mission success probability. The AI, now enhanced with Elori technology, responded instantly. 53.7% probability of complete mission success, Captain. 72.4% probability of partial success. Better odds than we had at the beginning, Walker said with a small smile. Let's move out. The battle began with a fury that lit up the space around Arcturus Prime. The rebellion fleet struck hard and fast, drawing UGC forces away from the capital. Amid the chaos, the Defiant slipped through the defensive grid, its new cloaking technology rendering it invisible to UGC sensors. Approaching the capital district, reported the helm officer. 35 minutes of cloak remaining. Walker stood at the center of the bridge, calm despite the tension. Take us in. Strike team, prepare for deployment. The Defiant glided silently through Arcturus Prime's atmosphere, approaching the massive dome that housed the UGC Council chamber. Inside, emergency alarms were blaring as reports of the fleet attack poured in. Cloaking device failing, Foster warned. The atmospheric entry damaged some of the circuits. Walker nodded. It doesn't matter now. We're here. He turned to the weapons officer. Target the council chamber dome. Minimal power. We want to make an entrance, not destroy the building. The Defiant suddenly appeared in the skies above the Capitol, its weapons firing with surgical precision. A section of the dome collapsed inward, creating an opening large enough for the ship to hover directly above the council chamber. Inside the chamber, High Admiral Thorne and the UGC Council stared upward in shock as the human warship appeared above them. Strike team, deploy, Walker ordered. Walker led the team as they descended into the council chamber using gravity-reducing technology. The few guards present were quickly neutralized by Ilori telepathic attacks and Novan crystal weapons. High Admiral Thorne rose from his seat, rage contorting his scaled face. How dare you invade this sacred chamber? Walker walked calmly to the center of the room. This chamber stopped being sacred when you used it to order the destruction of Earth and countless other worlds. He nodded to Xal, who placed the memory crystals into the chamber's communication system. Instantly, screens around the room lit up with evidence of the UGC's crimes. Experimentation on sentient beings, destruction of peaceful worlds, enslavement of dozens of species. This evidence is now broadcasting to every world in UGC space, Walker announced. Your people are seeing the truth for the first time. Several council members looked horrified as the images played. Many had not known the full extent of the atrocities committed in their name. These are lies, Thorne shouted. Guards, kill the intruders. But the guards didn't move. Some even lowered their weapons as they watched the evidence unfold. A council member from the Vega system stood up. Is this true, Admiral Thorne? Did you order these actions without full council approval? Another council member joined her. We voted to contain the human threat, not destroy their homeworld. Thorne's composure cracked. You fools. Strength is the only language the galaxy understands. I did what was necessary to maintain our dominance. In his rage, Thorne lunged for a control panel. If you stand with these rebels, you can die with them. Project Supernova is ready. I'll cleanse the galaxy of all who oppose us. Walker moved quickly, but it was Athena, linked to the Defiance systems, who reacted first. The AI disabled the control panel seconds before Thorne could activate it. The chamber erupted into chaos as council members turned against each other. Some sided with Thorne, while others, seeing the evidence, stepped away from him. You've lost, Admiral, Walker said quietly. Your own people are turning against you. The next hours were a blur of activity. With the UGC leadership divided, the rebellion forces secured key positions throughout the capital. Several UGC member species, horrified by the revealed atrocities, declared their support for the rebellion. Thorne and his closest allies were arrested by their own council members. Project Supernova was dismantled under the supervision of Vril engineers. 3 days later, representatives from all species, former UGC members, subjugated worlds, and the rebellion forces gathered to begin forming a new government, the Galactic Alliance. Walker stood at the podium, looking out at the diverse gathering. He felt the weight of Earth's memory on his shoulders, but also the promise of a new beginning. Today marks the end of domination and the beginning of cooperation, he said. The alliance we form will be built on respect for all sentient life, regardless of origin or biology. He gestured to the HSS Defiant, now hovering peacefully above the new alliance headquarters. One ship began this journey, not because of its weapons or technology, but because of the determination of its crew. The qualities that the UGC feared in humans, our adaptability, our persistence, our willingness to stand up for what's right. These are the same qualities that will now help build a better galaxy for all. Walker looked around at his crew, human and alien alike, who stood proudly at attention. Earth may be gone, but humanity's spirit lives on. Not in domination, but in the freedom we've helped win for all beings. That is humanity's true legacy to the stars. As the delegates applauded, Walker gazed upward through the rebuilt dome at the stars above. Somewhere out there, perhaps, were other human colonies that had escaped the UGC's notice. Someday they might find them. But for now, the galaxy was entering a new age, an age that had begun with one human warship that refused to surrender. The Defiant had lived up to its name.